Once upon a time there were three men who had nowhere to live. Instead of buying themselves an apartment or a house, they came up with a brilliant idea, which was to build their own homes. In no time the idea became reality, even though neither of the men had any building experiences. The way the men built their homes was based on their characteristics. One was grumpy, so he built his house with anger. The other man was sad and built his house in sorrow. And the third man was enamored and built his house with love. But what neither of them knew was that their characteristics affected their results. Eventually, when every man had completed the construction of their homes, a scientist could be called to evaluate the construction. The scientist began with the angry man's house. Just a light shake caused by the scientist made the house immediately fall apart. He continued, and the next house in line was the sad man's house. When he once again caused a light shake, the house fell apart just like the one before. According to the scientist, the answer to why they fell apart was simple. Both houses did not have the precise measurements that were needed, and it is the measurements that caused the instability of the houses. Last but not least, the scientist was supposed to evaluate the house which the man filled with love built. The scientist did everything to make the house fall apart, but strangely, nothing happened. Why, the scientist had no clue about. Because according to his measurements, it should fall apart by just a blow. The scientist scratched his head and asked the man how it was possible. The man answered and said that it's actually very simple, but you're a scientist, and it's not about science, it's about love.